thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Tuesday, April 16th, and today is National Bean Counter Day. And I don't think they're talking about seeds. I think they're actually talking about real beans, but nonetheless. It's also National Orchid Day, National Healthcare Decisions Day, National Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day. None of you guys are in your pajamas, especially Saman. And National Eggs Benedict Day. And yesterday we did miss one announcement yesterday, so we do want to make sure that we make that announcement today. We do want to memorialize the passing of Jack Herrera. Yesterday was the 14th anniversary of his passing, and so we do want to make sure that we acknowledge that and give our prayers and condolences out to the Herrera family and everything, and dedicate this episode to the memory of Jack Herrera. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, we have the dope dad himself.
Real quick, sorry, I just want to say I'm here with a legend. I just want to shout out so he can go about his way. This is Bo Johnson. Everybody that knows anything about cannabis and the first cannabis concentrates coming out of the legal states like Colorado. We got Mr. Bo Johnson here, and he's with us with Detroit Dispensing Solutions out of Michigan. They are an automated packaging for all of the cannabis concentrates.
We're not doing this, bro.
And concentrates. But say hi, Bo. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. Jeez Louise. Jeez.
I mean, that's appropriate. You got man on the street. That's super appropriate, Jason.
No, it's not, bro. We're running the show. We're running the show. You do that stuff during commentary, bro. Not during the show. Okay? Don't do that shit again.
Hey, baby, it's all love. It's all fair and peace and cannabis.
All right. Well, coming up first, we have
on a hollandaise holiday. It's Eggs Benedict Day.
Here we freaking go. Here we go. Coming up first, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who has nothing but tricks and giggles apparently this morning, because apparently everything is funny to him as he sips on his tea. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
The crowd goes wild.
I told you, bro, you don't get applause for 2 weeks, bro. There you go. Feel better now? Okay.
Yeah, that felt great.
All right.
So I love that Saman Connery coming through. Everybody knows it is no secret that Mike Tyson is one of the cannabis industry's most polarizing figures. But just as the Tyson 2.0 brand boss and former heavyweight champion, his training regimen has reached a fever pitch to face Jake Paul in a few months. Things are getting a little shaky for him out in California. So SF Gates Lester Black, by way of KTSW Action News, reported that the state of California issued a mandatory recall yesterday for 2 Tyson 2.0 products produced by Mike Tyson's cannabis brand after the state found evidence that the products contained mold. The recalled products were sold at 20 stores across the state, including 3 in San Francisco. The 2 recalled products were cannabis flower products sold named Toad and Tadpoles, 2 animals that might have mold on them on their backs. But, Tyson 2.0. They contained a fungal mold, Aspergillus. According to the Department of Cannabis Control's recall notice, the agency is asking the public to dispose of the products and can contact your physician immediately if you're experiencing any symptoms or adverse reactions to the product. With cannabis products sold in California required to be tested prior to sale, it's not clear how these products passed if they contained a banned mold. Tyson's cannabis brand did not immediately return on SF Gate's request for comment. The recall, coincidentally, and I say that like that because I do not believe in coincidences, but it coincidentally comes at a time where the boxer is preparing to fight former Disney star and YouTube influencer Jake Paul in a semi-pro exhibition match slated for this July. In a totally separate and maybe not related headline as reported by Mundo Deportivo, Tyson temporarily halted cannabis use to comply with boxing regulations ahead of the bout with Paul, affirming his commitment to the sport while maintaining advocacy for cannabis's medicinal benefits. So per the article, following his exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020, Tyson openly acknowledged using marijuana even on the day of the bout. Throughout the approximately 275 episodes of his podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, he has consistently, even throughout exhibition training regimens, showcased his consumption of marijuana. But in preparation for this fight, 57-year-old clash with a 27-year-old Jake Paul, scheduled for July 20th at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Tyson has temporarily ceased cannabis use, as confirmed by his PR agent, or his publicist, Joanne Mignano. He only stopped as a means of following all of the rules, Mignano told USA Today Sports by email. But he is still a strong advocate for the medicinal benefits of cannabis for his personal well-being and others like him. You don't say, Joanne. If you're a believer in following the money like I am, any news directly or indirectly tied to a major event promotion is indeed promoting said major event. I do not think that getting a product recalled when is cannabis is the best PR strategy for an event, but I'm not a boxing promoter. I don't know how this shit goes, and whatever. You can argue that the fact that the fight is in Texas, he doesn't want to fumble the bag on some bullshit, but he was fighting all up to and through, and he said he was even on mushrooms when he was fighting Roy Jones Jr., and this match also is an exhibition, so I'm thinking, maybe he knew that his weed was moldy and he stopped smoking it. I don't know, but I think it's very convenient that he's choosing to follow the rules right at the same time as this recall is happening. So let's talk about it. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. What do y'all think? Is it a coincidence?
Man, moldy weed from Mike Tyson, huh? Man, I know Yarrow's going to have a field day because my story involves Mike Tyson, too, so he's going to get triggered.
I knew Todd and Yarrow are going to be on here, so I purposely brought up Mike Tyson as the most polarizing man. But also, I wanted to hear a little bit about Aspergillus. And how
sounds like he's giving the lungs the 1-2 punch, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh,
nice.
Not only does Saman dress up nice, but he has got some...
Not the one-liners.
He's got some wit
fire
today.
in that cerebral cortex.
Man, that must be because he's in Florida today.
You guys are funny.
Man, I mean, are you surprised? Are you surprised that that Tyson weed has any mold in it?
I mean, if somebody had told me that I was going to wake up this morning and defend Mike Tyson, I would have told them that they were crazy. I think that this could happen to any cannabis manufacturing company in California. So the flower might not be a little bit fresh. But what is fresh in my mind is he's still a convicted rapist.
Oh, boy.
That is true. I don't know how it got to the shelves. How did it get to the shelves if it was already moldy? Should have failed in testing.
I agree. I'm confused by that too, Todd. I mean, but Todd, I mean, does Aspergillus can it manifest itself once it's finished and packaged?
Yeah, well,
sure. Yeah, it could proliferate later, and your test results could change, and the DCC could have been doing spot checking or additional checking of products on the shelf. Again, I think this could happen to any product manufacturer. I do not see this as a direct reflection on the brand or on the man, and I think most companies are better judged by how they handle product recalls than if they have a product recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Sometimes when you do the sampling,
I would say,
hold on.
California, it's every 50 pounds gets tested, right, for aspergillus. So if you're sampling and you get a hot bud that has aspergillus over here and one that doesn't have one over here, you know what I mean? It's they probably tested it. They probably passed. And, there was another infected part of that batch. Mm-hmm. It happens all the time.
Do you think there's any connection between Mike Tyson choosing not to smoke?
No, I think he's just trying to follow the boxing rules.
Oh, hold on. We're going to get into that in my story.
It's an exhibition. There wasn't part of the boxing rules.
Rico, we're going into that in my story. We're going into all of that in my story. Don't worry. Yeah. Yes. We have a 1-2 punch when it comes to Mike Tyson on the first two stories of today. So.
And UFC doesn't care about weed, but
right?
Boxing does.
Boxing does. Boxing cares about weed.
But the fight is in July. Number one, the fight is in July. Number one, and it's an exhibition, and in the exhibition rules, the proposed rules.
Hold on, Rico. We're going to go into this. We're just going to go to a commercial, and then I'm going to jump into my story, because this is all in that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery?
Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California, with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Up next is the High at 9 News head honcho, known for smoking the best weed in the world. And if it's the best weed in the world, chances are it wasn't Tyson 2.0.
Oh,
that last story. But here to deliver the 2 and the 1-2 punch, Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Oh, man, you guys. Mike Tyson, lots of news today. Lots of news. Mike Tyson is giving up marijuana while training for Jake Paul bout. And here's why, you guys. To say Mike Tyson is familiar with marijuana is to say he knows a thing or two about boxing. After fighting Roy Jones Jr. in an exhibition in 2020, Tyson said he used marijuana the day of the fight. He openly smoked marijuana on all 275 or so episodes of his podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. He not only consumes cannabis, but also sells it, his own brand, in fact, Tyson 2.0. And at 57, Tyson apparently is trying something he might find harder than fighting a man 30 years younger than he is. The former heavyweight champion, who has said he uses marijuana daily, has given up the drug while training for his boxing match against Jake Paul, who's 27, set for July 20th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, according to Joanne Mignano, Tyson's publicist. In quotes, he's only stopped as a means of following the rules, Mignano told USA Today Sports by email, but he is still a strong advocate for the medical benefits of cannabis for his personal well-being and others like him. Marijuana is on the list of banned substances used by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, the TDLR, which regulates combat sports in Texas. A failed drug test results in an automatic 90-day suspension, a fine, and if the winner of the fight tests positive, the outcome is changed to no decision. Tyson also has said he used mushrooms, a psychedelic drug, before his fights, and this would be a no-no in Texas as well. In quotes, use of any pharmacological substance that is not approved for human therapeutic use is prohibited, said telemanaged communications manager for the TDLR. Mignano indicated Tyson will be in full compliance with the rules. A failed drug test would not jeopardize the proposed fight between Tyson and Paul. And Manage indicated that because the drug tests, which are random, are conducted only on the day of the fight, and results are unavailable for at least a week, according to Manage. But the fighters have been disqualified for refusing to submit a pre-fight drug test, something Tyson did at least once during his pro career, or fail to follow the drug testing processes. In Texas, drug testing does not take place before an exhibition. It's still unclear if the fight between Tyson and Paul will be an exhibition or a pro fight. And in 2021, Tyson was suspended for 90 days and fined after testing positive for marijuana following his fight against Andrew Galata. He refused to take a pre-fight drug test, and later that year, Tyson said he should have smoked his entire pro boxing career, which ended in 2025. Since retirement, especially in recent years, Tyson has smoked marijuana openly while becoming a cannabis entrepreneur. The name of his podcast, we went into all that. And but here's the interesting one. Tyson said he used a Whizzinator, a fake penis, and urine from his wife and then infant to pass drug tests back in the days. On March 20th, almost 2 weeks after the Tyson-Paul fight was announced, Tyson posted a video on social media saying he had recorded the final episodes of his podcast. The footage from him hotboxing ended at the same time he released a video of training for the fight. In quotes, "I don't think I'll be smoking for this fight, and I think I'm going to be really, really irritable and nasty," he says. Tyson said on April 2nd on Fox News in his first public comments about the issue that normally I do, but for this particular fight, I think I'm going to go raw and naked, he says. Most stories have stopped testing fighters for marijuana since its legalization has spread since Mike Mazzulli, president of the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports. And one of the exceptions is Texas, which according to Marijuana Policy Project is one of only 19 states that still jails people for possession of small amounts of cannabis. And last year, lightweight boxing prospect Keyshawn Davis was suspended 90 days in Texas after he tested positive for marijuana, according to ESPN, which cited the box's promoter, Top Ranking Boxing. The threshold for a positive marijuana test for combat sports in Texas is 50 nanograms per milliliter THC. The main psychoactive ingredient in marijuana can be detected for days or longer after a one-time use, according to the Margaret Goodman, a neurologist and founder of the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA. In quotes, "So detection in a lab test of THC may indicate prior use, but not relevant current use," Goodman said by email. And in boxing, state licensing rules typically apply because there is no commission that uniformly regulates the sport, said Travis Tygart, CEO of the United States Anti-Doping Agency. For instance, there was no talk of Tyson giving up marijuana during training for his exhibition fight in 2020 in Los Angeles, and he passed a drug test the day of the fight, but was not tested for marijuana, and said Andy Foster, executive director of the California State Athletic Commission. And marijuana is legal for medical and adult use purposes in California, and Foster said the commission does not test fighters for the drug before all fights. But Foster said Tyson was tested for hard drugs, and he complied with all the rules. For USDA's program for Olympics and Paralympics, which includes boxers, marijuana is tested for in competition only, and USADA policy is the World Anti-Doping Agency code, and USADA uses a threshold of 150 nanograms per milliliter. A positive test can result in suspension for up to 2 years and as little as 1 month if the person participates in a counseling program, Tigert said. In USDA's pro sports program, there is no automatic violation for a positive test unless performance is impacted or health and safety are endangered, according to Tygert. And VADA, which offers independent drug testing for boxing and MMA, was used for Paul's boxing match against Nate Diaz that took place in August, Texas, according to Goodman, the VADA founder. Bryce Holden, who is the promoter of the Tyson-Paul fight, was the promoter of the Diaz-Paul fight, and he declined to say whether he would be be a contract with VADA or any other drug testing beyond what the TDLR conducts. But Holden did address Tyson's well-documented use of marijuana and it being on the list of banned substances in Texas, in quotes. I mean, look, we're in communication with the camps, he said, and obviously at the end of the day, we're also in communication with the commission overseeing boxing weekly and daily. So I'm not concerned about it, he says. TDLR conducts only day of testing for testing and tests for marijuana, while VADA does both out of competition and day of testing. Both does not test for marijuana, and Goodman said VADA stepped up testing for marijuana soon after the company was founded in 2011, echoing a widespread sentiment in sports that Goodman said marijuana is not a substance that's going to enhance anybody's performance. Well, you guys, what do you think about this? Tyson quitting cannabis and all of this wealth of information in regards to boxing, which was all of Todd's questions earlier. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm very glad that you had the more detailed version there. It all surrounds Texas.
You know, I specialize in details, Rico.
Yeah, why are they fighting in Texas of all the places?
Right.
Taxes? I don't know.
Taxes?
I mean, but they could go to Vegas and get the same taxes there. Too,
no, they're fighting in Texas because of the brisket.
They're fighting because of the brisket.
I got something. I have the chief medical officer of the Texas Fighting Association is the stepfather of Layla's cousins. So I can tell you that, you know, first and foremost, mushrooms don't show up in your pee. So don't worry about that, Mike, and anybody else out there. But, you know, definitely, you know, all the Delta 8 and all the hemp Delta 9 stuff for all the people in Texas, they're going to pee the same way and it's going to test hot too. But, you know, just say hi to our friends down here in Florida who have something to say too.
Yes. Is that Mark? Is that Mark?
I pee out of my mushroom.
Is that Mark?
You know, Saman.
Is that Mark, Saman? Is that Mark?
That's Mark. That's Mr. Mark,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, tell Mark what's up, bro. Hope Mark is.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and see them. But yeah, look, I think this is hilarious. I think that, you know, you can't you can't force a guy, you know, to like stop using alternative medicines that's been, you know, fighting for so long. And isn't this a sideshow anyway? This is like a real sanctioned fight. Is this not just like a circus anyway?
I know.
Jake Paul.
That's why I was confused, because this is an exhibition.
They said they haven't said that yet. In the article, it said they haven't decided if it's going to be an exhibition or if it's going to be a professional fight or not. That's still up for
Listen,
debate.
even if it's a professional fight, we're talking Mike Tyson and some random YouTuber, bro. Get out of here with that shit. This is not a real fight. Mike Tyson would just kill this guy in normal life. Come on, really? Really?
I mean, odds aside, I think this is the dumbest thing ever if Mike would agree to do a quote unquote professional fight, because as a professional fight, this will destroy his legacy. Mm-hmm. He gets his ass beat.
Yeah.
He gets his ass beat. It's a huge L you took by somebody who's never beat
by a 20-year-old
real boxer.
Exactly. You're giving this guy a pedestal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and remember the Andre the Giant and the Hulk Hogan and
that was a great match.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or whatever. Like, dude, come on. Like, that was a great time. It was great entertainment. It was all real. Come on, Todd. That's like the moon landing being real, Todd. Come on.
Exactly.
I mean, I am in, you know, I'm in the minority in several ways, but I'm in the minority.
Oh boy, here we go.
I think Jake Paul's going to beat the shit out of him.
You think so, really?
I did not just hear that come out of your mouth, Rico.
Adam.
Listen. Like, even more so now that they're going through all these anti-doping rules, which means he'll pop positive for steroids. And I think the only thing that would keep him alive in this is if he is juicing out of his fucking mind in there. Dude, I mean, like,
no, he's going to channel some rapey vibes and beat the shit out of Jake Paul.
Energy and stamina you have when you're 30 years younger than another dude, right? And he's going to be 2 months off of any substances. Right, like Mike Tyson's gonna look like an old ass, shriveled up man up there, and he'll get the ass whipping that you think that he deserves, Yarrow. So
I think he's gonna win. I think he's got a track record, and I'm rooting for the old guy because I am an old guy. I think he's just gonna channel them rapey vibes, and he's just gonna go back in there and get another conviction. Conviction. And so I think, and I don't think Jake Paul is a random YouTuber. I mean, there are a lot of random YouTubers.
Well,
I don't know a lot about Jake Paul, but I know that he's got a footprint. He's got a following. He's not. I would say he's a C grade star, but he's definitely got a footprint.
Give me one fighter on Mike Tyson's record that was worse than Jake Paul. None. Zero.
No, I can't.
Nobody's ever stepped in the ring with. So if he loses to him,
that's because there used to be men that actually fought these fights.
Even Buster
used to
Douglas.
Be men that fought these fights.
That's handling business.
Now we have Jake Paul's.
Yeah.
Or do you think if he beats him, he just ends up raping him in the corner as well?
Oh, probably. Oh my God. Probably some squirrel master shit.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, you guys are tripping. But Adam, can we please get a poll put up there? I want to see what everybody in the chat and everyone watching thinks. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Is it gonna be Mike Tyson or is it gonna be Jake Paul? That's what I think we want to know. We want to see a poll for that.
Kill him.
I think Tyson's gonna smash that young
He's been showing some fucking videos online of him training, and he looks sick, man.
Yep.
Like I said last time, I saw a video on Instagram of Jason Beck with a blunt in his hand running a marathon. Anything is possible on the
Yes.
internet.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Professional content production.
That was running. He wasn't running a marathon. He was running from the cops. He wasn't running a marathon. He was just running from the cops.
Got caught up in the marathon.
That is called the marathon. That is called the marathon.
I think there's going to be Mike Tyson's pigeons flying out of Jake Paul's tuchus, and that young guy has no chance against a man who has that level of experience. Yeah, I get that Mike Tyson doesn't have a lot of age and vitality and all that, but aren't these rounds a couple minutes? I mean, he's going to be able to huff and puff his way into the corner for a quick little bit of oxygen.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying over the years Mike Tyson has not lost a step? Like a 27-year-old, like I was indestructible at 20.
Yeah, no, so he's lost a step. He went from being the greatest boxer in the history of boxing to being an old man who used to be the greatest boxer in the history of boxing. But Jake Paul has gone from being a YouTuber to being a YouTuber.
The beauty of combat sports is anybody can get it at any time. Anybody can get touched. All it takes is one miscalculation.
Hey!
How classic.
We got the whole squad.
There we go. We got
whole squad.
Yes.
Whole squad.
Florida, Hollywood, Florida, not Hollywood, California.
Yeah, we love Florida.
Who's going to win the fight?
We do love some Florida.
Still on top.
Yes. We love us some Florida, that's for sure.
They love us some Florida. They love us some profit brands, huh? Yeah, we love profit brands.
Yes.
In the heezy.
I mean, if Mike was in Florida, he'd be taking advantage of the manatees. I know it.
Oh boy. You guys are so funny. We're gonna roll right on in to the voice, the man, Mr. Todd Denkin. He is the founder of DigiPath Labs, as well as the Smuggleverse, where you get all of your digital
mute up,
dank.
young man.
Yeah, mute up, Saman. Where you get all of your digital dank. Coming up next, it is none other than the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much, Jason. I'm going to provide my own applause.
Yes, there we go. Thanks, Todd.
BYOA. Bring your own applause.
Thank you very much. A little under the weather today, so if I sound it, that's why. And speaking of Florida, my news is out of Florida, my home state. Marijuana legalization ballot measure does not have enough support to pass, according to a new poll. Majority of Florida voters say they support a marijuana legalization initiative that will appear on the November ballot, not enough to reach the steep 60% threshold for passage under the state constitution, according to a new poll. USA Today and Ipsos survey that was released on Saturday found that 56% of Florida registered voters and 49% of Florida adults overall backed the cannabis measure. There's been a mix of polling over the last year on marijuana legalization initiative, certain surveys signaling that there is enough support for approval. This is the first to come out since the Florida Supreme Court cleared the measure for the ballot after rejecting the state attorney general's constitutional challenge. Poll first reported by the Tallahassee Democrat found that support for the proposal is strongest among Democrats at 69%, followed by independents 63%, and of course the Republicans at 39%. Regional breakdown shows that Central Florida residents are more likely to back the measure than those in North or South Florida. Ipsos said it was also notable that, quote, Floridians in Broward County or Palm Beach County are more likely than those in Miami-Dade County to say they would vote in favor of legalizing recreational cannabis. Polling firm also said there were no differences in self-reported plans to vote for recreational cannabis legalization by gender or age, but that white Floridians are more likely than Hispanic Floridians to say they would vote in favor of recreational marijuana legalization this November. The survey also found that 54% of respondents are very or somewhat familiar with the state Supreme Court's decision to allow the cannabis measure to appear on the ballot in November. Findings underscore the challenges and opportunities for the Smart and Safe Florida campaign in the months ahead as they enter into the next phase of outreach and education. Multiple marijuana companies are working to support that effort, donating a total of nearly $15 million to the campaign, including several multi-state operators, according to state filings that were released last week. TruLieve, the main financial backer of the initiative, led the pack again with $9.225 million in donations during the first quarter of this year, bringing their total contributions to over $49 million. Rano, Cureleaf, Green Thumb, Air Wellness, and Cresco Labs have also donated money, as little as $400,000 and as much as $2.25 million. Florida voters approve a marijuana legalization initiative at the ballot. It could actually improve the quality of life for residents. In contrast with the governor's recent comments to the contrary, CEO of TruLieve said last week, "Sky has not fallen with Florida's implementation of medical cannabis legalization under an early initiative, and folks see that choice is a good thing," and CEO of TruLieve, Kim Rivers, during an interview on the Dales Report Trade to Black podcast. Will Floridians ultimately pass the measure with at least 60% of the vote, as is required for constitutional amendments? Rivers says, hell yes. Comments about quality of life implications of cannabis legalization follow Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' prediction that voters will reject the marijuana initiative this November. He called the proposal radical and argued it will reduce the quality of life in the state. DeSantis, for his part, said earlier this month that enactment of the reform would mean, quote, this state will start to smell like marijuana in our cities and towns, unquote. It seems to be a particular concern for the governor, who has previously complained about the smell of cannabis in other jurisdictions. He also said it will reduce the quality of life. And he said, do we really want to do more with that? Do we want to have more marijuana in our communities? I don't think it'll work out well, but it is a very, very broad amendment. Rivers said that DeSantis has been consistent for a long time around his comments around the smell, not necessarily being excited about having marijuana everywhere. I think there's some additional education needs to happen there, and they've been working on it. As drafted, the measure, if approved, would change the state constitution to allow existing medical cannabis companies in the state, like TruLieve, to begin selling marijuana to adults over 21. It contains a provision that would allow, but not require, lawmakers to take steps toward the approval of additional businesses. Home cultivation by consumers would not be allowed under the proposal as it is currently drafted. Adults 21 and older would be able to purchase and possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis, only 5 grams of which could be marijuana concentrate products. The 3-page measure also omits equity provisions favored by advocates such as expungements or relief for people with prior cannabis convictions. Separately, economic analysis for the state of Florida legislature and the governor's office estimate that marijuana legalization initiative would generate between $195 and $431 million in new tax sales revenue if voters enact it. And those figures could increase considerably if lawmakers opted to impose an additional excise tax on cannabis transaction that is similar in places where other legalized states. Full text of the ballot and the summary says, quote, it allows adults 21 years or older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products and marijuana accessories for non-medical personal consumption by smoking, ingestion, or otherwise. It allows medical marijuana treatment centers and other state licensed entities to acquire, cultivate, process, manufacture, sell, and distribute such products and accessories. Applies to Florida law, does not change or immunize violations of federal law. establishes possession limits for personal use, allows consistent legislation, defines terms, provides effective date. Florida Chamber of Commerce released a poll in January showing that a marijuana legalization initiative that may appear on the November ballot enjoys majority support from likely voters, but not quite enough to meet the state's steep 60% threshold for passage. Meanwhile, there's significant interest in how nation's boy, former President Donald Trump, a Florida resident, will vote on the cannabis initiative and whether he will publicly support it or oppose it. Legalization to restrict consumable hemp products and ban Delta 8 THC was approved by lawmakers and awaits DeSantis' action. Separately, a House subcommittee recently advanced a medical marijuana bill that would waive patient registration and renewal fees for service-disabled military veterans. Despite his opposition to the initiative, DeSantis and former GOP presidential candidate who dropped out of the race in January previously accurately predicted that the state's highest court would ultimately allow the measure on November's ballot. Attorney General Ashley Moody, also a Republican, successfully petitioned justices to prevent an earlier 2022 legalization initiative from receiving voter consideration. DeSantis also weighed in on another relevant cannabis policy issue earlier this year. While still a presidential candidate, he said he doesn't believe the federal gun ban for state legal marijuana consumers is constitutional. Florida's former Agricultural Commission, Nikki Fried, brought a lawsuit against the Biden administration over the rule, though the governor did not get involved. Prior to dropping out, DeSantis also said that if elected president, he would respect the decisions that states make on marijuana legalization, despite his personal view that the reform has a, quote, negative impact. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and do we think that the initiative will pass the 60% majority in Florida? What say you guys?
I got a lot to say about this. I just got to jump in. I got like commentary ants in my pants. The first is, number one, the 60% threshold is a challenge because it is not a majority. It is a super majority. It is not a 51%, and they were already at 49%. And so having that be the requirement, I think flies in the face of sort of the foundational principles of just a representative democracy. Number two, I want to point out to you, Jason, that Republicans are only supporting this by 37%, while Democrats are supporting it by 69%. It's okay. Don't say anything. Just let that sink in for a second, because I thought you guys were the party of freedom and choice, but we can go there later. Number three, they are not allowing home grows. So this is a problem. This, if anything, any legalization that does not include the opportunity for someone to do home grows, to me, misses the mark by a massive amount. Number four.
Saman Razani, such a pleasure to me.
Saman.
Hey, you mute up, buddy. I got
Saman.
things to say. Number four, DeSantis said that this was a radical plan. DeSantis is so out of touch that even his platform cowboy boots can't reach the reality of what the American public actually thinks and feels. When 35 states have programs and you are still worried about the smell. DeSantis, the problem you have is cocaine doesn't have an odor, but that doesn't mean it's not an issue. I mean, let's get real here for a second. When he's not railing against Disney, he's fighting these false issues. And it's just out of touch with the American public. And it's too bad that he's still governing.
Mm-hmm. Really is. Okay, I'm going to go real quick here. I'll go real quick here. If it does not reach the ballot initiative, it doesn't have the support that it needs, this is going to be $41 million very poorly spent by Truly.
Yeah, that part,
very
yeah,
poorly.
I mean, if history is any tale, then I'm going to say that it is not going to pass, because even their medical bill, it took 2 times before it would pass, and this is the first time that they're actually going to be voting on adult use there in Florida. So if history is a tale of anything, then I would say that it would fail as well. Maybe like 53% something, but it's not going to hit that 60% threshold.
I think it's going to pass. I think the voters want it. The public wants it, and it's just that the governor doesn't. I think it's going to pass.
I mean, I don't think anyone really cares what the governor wants.
Maybe you take a trip down and meet your boy at Mar-a-Lago and tell him to come out for it, and maybe that would.
I'll tell you what, that'll push it over the top. That would push it over the top. That's
I
probably would.
Trump doesn't have any of his own ideas, and he's not going to comment on it until he has like a super majority in these polls, and he's like, oh, this is my belief now because all these people said that is the thing to say.
Maybe we should maybe we should do an educational event for voters over at the Breakers, and like that would be a big push right there.
I think we might need to do an educational event for Trump because he could take a public stance on this, and not only would it distract against his numerous lawsuits and criminal proceedings, but it would also allow voters to understand what he truly thinks and believes on this issue.
What is it?
Jason, maybe you can.
What is the educational event for Trump? Is that just like you showing him a picture book with Sharpies in it?
Stop it! No, we have real conversations. We have real in-depth
maybe Jason,
conversations.
you can go visit him in court in New York and keep him awake and talk about cannabis.
I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that these
go to a trap shop. There's plenty of them out there. Just hit a trap shop and get all the education he needs.
And with a good energizing sativa, he'll be able to stay awake.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Fair enough. Well. I mean, I like I said, I think it's. I'm not sure if it's going to pass, and judging by this poll results, it doesn't sound like it's going to pass. But at the same time, it's not November yet either, and so we do have a lot in the campaign trail still to change people's votes and change people's hearts and minds when it comes to this issue. So on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
You be smoking first and then stretching? Wouldn't it feel better?
No. I mean, I smoke already. I'm getting ready to smoke during this next story, Todd.
Gotcha.
So technically,
How you
I would have.
like that?
Yeah, I would
So
have
can we smoke
out.
first? Right?
Yeah.
Head out.
We smoke
How you
first?
like me now?
That's right.
Up next, second generation cultivator, founder of Special Teams Consulting, and known to many as Mike Tyson's heel. Coming to the stage is Yarrow Kubrin, Sebastopol Sage himself.
I think the only people who need to heal are the victims of his some sexual and domestic assaults, but we can get into that at another time.
Hold on,
fact,
Yarrow. Yarrow, Rico, you're gonna love this. My aunt, she just texted me. She said Mike is a street fighter, so he's going to lose. My aunt thinks that Mike Tyson's gonna lose. I can't believe that, you guys.
Yeah, your aunt also thought that abortion access wasn't at risk in this country. So while I love her last name, and I'm sure she's
my
good
aunt
people,
is so old, she does not care about abortion. Okay, she's not worried about none of that.
Yeah, I think your aunt is totally wrong. I think Mike is gonna win. I'm willing to bet another bong hit.
I agree with you on that, Yarrow. I'm going against my aunt on this one too.
Auntie Beck, I just couldn't disagree with you anymore. But anyway, moving past opinions, moving past the victims of sexual assault and domestic abuse, let's cover their maker, and let's talk a little bit today about my favorite topic to rail on, which is not Mike Tyson's history, but the taxes in the cannabis industry. And so my article today is hot off the press. It's hyper-local for those of us here in Sonoma County, California. The article is from our local newspaper, the Press Democrat. And without further ado, declining cannabis prices drive proposal to reduce Sonoma County cultivation tax. Sonoma County may reduce cannabis cultivation tax rates due to declining prices. The changes are in response to market pressures and aim to support the struggling industry while addressing funding challenges for the county's cannabis program. Reduced tax rates may be in store for struggling cannabis cultivators and manufacturers in unincorporated Sonoma County, driven in part by decreasing prices affecting the industry. County officials on Tuesday will recommend the Board of Supervisors approve new tax rates based on a model that would reduce the tax burden for most cannabis growers. Under the proposal, the cultivation tax will be reduced from 75 cents per square foot to 69 cents per square foot for outdoor cultivation, $3 per square foot to $2.51 per square foot for mixed light cultivation, and $12.50 per square foot to $7.58 for indoor cultivation. The tax rate for manufacturers would drop from 3% to 1.5%. Wow. Retailers would see an increase from 2% to 3%. That's a 50% jump for you mathematicians. A proposed change comes as the county sees a decline in the number of cultivators, dwindling prices driven in part by a glut of product and competition from large-scale growers, and a projected long-term decrease in industry-driven revenue for its cannabis programs. The reason for the revised tax rate is to remain responsive to market changes and whatever those market changes entail, said McCall Miller, the county's cannabis program coordinator. The county's the county's cannabis tax revenue is projected to decrease from $1.6 million this fiscal year to $1.4 million in fiscal year 24 to 25. Factoring in departmental costs, the county's long-awaited environmental impact study, launched in mid-2021 to streamline permitting and other costs, the program's end balance is expected to decrease from about $3.7 million this fiscal year to about $2 million by the fiscal year 26-27, according to a staff presentation. In light of these declining funds, departments are adjusting staffing and how they can use funds available in the program, Miller said. The industry has struggled to compete with the illicit cannabis market that has undercut legal cultivation and price and fueled the supply glut. The recommended tax rate changes are based on the results of an annual analysis completed by HDL Companies, a consultant based in Brea, California, that yours truly, Mr. Kubrin, thinks are as instrumental in the problems in California as any other entity could be. The review found that the average price per pound for indoor cannabis decreased dramatically from $1,230 in 2023 to $606. The change in price is likely connected to large operations undercutting smaller operations, Miller said. The study also found that the average price for outdoor cannabis products decreased from $308 to $277, according to a staff report. The proposal comes after the state in 2022 eliminated its cultivation tax for growers. Sonoma County in 2023 also revised its tax rates, reducing the rate for outdoor growers, but raising it for indoor cultivation. The move comes under mounting pressure from cannabis industry representatives who pressed for greater relief from taxes and fees they said were squeezing smaller operators out of the business or into the illicit market. Still, Sonoma County is seeing a decline in cannabis cultivators, Miller said. There are 5 manufacturers, 6 retailers, and 75 cannabis cultivators in unincorporated Sonoma County, according to Miller. Pay attention to this. In 2023, there were 155 cultivators operating in unincorporated Sonoma County, which means that Sonoma County has seen a reduction to its cultivators in the unincorporated areas by more than half in a single year. Dropping prices may be one of the factors driving out cultivators. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. You're right, Miller. But she added that some cultivators have also said the county's permitting process and backlog of applications is another factor. I'm going to read that again because it's the most important sentence in the entire article. The county's permitting process and backlog of applications is another factor. We've been told by operators that it's easier in other places, Miller said. She could not confirm the number of applications in the backlog by deadline Monday. So this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Tuesday morning, bringing you a hyper-local article that's important and near and dear to my heart. I'd like to hear what my other guests have to say and what they think.
They should have did away with the cultivation tax a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Sure. Yeah, the cultivation tax, there's no need for the cultivation tax. It's a worthless tax that just causes the prices to go up for the end consumer. There's no reason for it, and there is no other agricultural commodity that is taxed like that.
Could we put up the graphic that I sent in that shows the relative difference in tax rates on a pre-roll from a glass of wine? I sent that over to you and you, Jason, and also to Adam. If we could just put that up for a second. I like to say that words tell, but pictures sell. And if we can see that infographic here for a second,
I think it's working on that. There we go.
I think it says more than anything I could ever say, right? I love our wine industry. I love a good Pinot. Give me some Cab with my steak. I am having a great time. But let's look at this for a second. We've got 1 cent tax on a nice pour of my favorite grape. We've got a 2-cent tax on beer. Remember, the best beer in the world comes from Sonoma County. That's Pliny the Younger, not open to debate. Really? We've got our liquor at 4 to 8 cents.
I know some Germans who can negate that immediately. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they should get back to figuring out how they can have legal cannabis at their events and keep making some decent cars.
Yarrow, that's one of my next stories.
I know. That's why I let in with that. That was not by coincidence. Okay. We've got 4 to 8 cents for a shot. We've got 14 cents for a smoke of cigarette. And then we've got 80 to 90 cents tax on a pre-roll. And so when we talk about tax relief and they're raising the tax on retail, just like the last time they had tax relief, they raised the tax on other manufacturing entities. And when we have HDL, which has single-handedly been responsible for some of the most malformed policy in California and continues to get paid exorbitant consulting fees to guide us down the wrong path, we look at these taxes, we understand that modest tax reform doesn't move the needle. What it allows policymakers to say is that they've provided tax relief. But if the tax relief isn't tangible, isn't substantial, doesn't move the needle, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think about this, Rico? Because I think the taxes are just ridiculous, just in general, and so anything that removes taxes, I'm
taxation is theft.
Yes,
and especially, I mean, cannabis is not federally legal, and if you want to take the states' rights argument here, like it protects your local businesses, and take away these taxes that are hampering their ability to remain solvent.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that bothers me the most is that Sonoma County has this...
It grinds Yarrow's gears.
Yes.
It grinds my gears, but let me tell you why. Sonoma County is the birthplace of modern agriculture. Luther Burbank, who was motivated by the Irish potato famine, was the James Brown, the godfather of modern ag. And it is in no small measure why the Central Valley of California is the breadbasket of the nation. And so we have a long, illustrious, storied history of being a massive contributor to agriculture in general. And there are operators in this region, and there are cultivars from this region that have been optimized based on the soils and the climates. We have soil here that you can't find anywhere else in the world that includes fossilized plankton from the Laguna de Santa Rosa, having been an inland ocean that eventually receded. And to understand that at some point on the world stage, we may not have the culture, the cultivars, the operators to be able to showcase what has already arguably had such an oversized influence in the past from this region is very sad. The only equivalent I can think of is watching these poor little polar bears on these melting ice caps wither and die because the culture, the know-how, just the genetics that were really optimized in these hills and in these regions, we really have a chance of becoming irrelevant 20 years from now, whereas 20 years before today, we were incredibly relevant.
I think there's a huge opportunity being missed by Republicans, Tea Party Republicans, especially because they're all in office now. They're missing the mark on this. This is an easy win for them to just rally around the cannabis community. No taxation without representation. Shout out to that. I saw that in the chat just now.
Mm-hmm. I agree
with
no
your people, Jason. Where they at?
Cute, Rico. What were you gonna say, Todd?
I was just gonna say that anytime that taxes are reduced is a good thing. But the fact that they're reducing it from the grower and adding it to the retail, I mean, what is the point?
It's half-assed backwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the consumer in the long run that gets killed by all of these taxes.
Yes,
and it's the cultivators who have to pay a grow tax.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the perception that the cannabis industry just racks and stacks cash all the time is just a misnomer. I mean, I don't know anybody who got rich in the cannabis industry. Do you?
Not in the industry.
Yes. The taxing authority and the permitting authorities, some people have gotten rich.
I know
code enforcement has done well by this.
Well, I know a whole bunch of lawyers that have gotten rich off of this.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
I mean, everything needs to be redone and re-looked at now that, you know, there's a mature market in most places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be adjusted.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back. Get ready for the return of the shit show to Los Angeles, returning Friday, May 3rd, 7 p.m. to midnight at a brand new venue. Comedy sets by comedians such as Demi York, Lindsay Ames, Alyssa Phillips, Chris Thayer, Josh Shakespeare, Fumi Avi, Jay Snow, Brent Weinbach, Chris Kelly, and hosted by none other than Abdullah Saeed. So head over to www.cloudmedia.partners now to get your tickets, and we'll see you there. All right, you guys. We got two last stories for you guys. This is some good news. Good news for you. Are you ready, Rico?
Let's go.
Kansas GOP senator, remember that part, Rico, forces a vote on reviving medical marijuana legalization bill. That's right. After a Kansas legislative committee effectively killed the medical marijuana pilot program proposal last month, lawmakers are slated to take up the issue once again when they return back later this month under a GOP senator's new motion to force a vote on a different legalization bill. Last week on the Senate floor, Senator Robert Olson, Republican, made a motion that would receive a broader medical marijuana measure and have senators debate and vote on it. That bill, SB 135, was shelved by a legislative panel a year ago after pushback from law enforcement. In quotes, "We've debated this issue in committee," Olson told Senate colleagues. "It's time that we have an opportunity to vote on the floor to try to bring this bill out," he says. In another quote, there's a lot of money that states around us are making from this," he added. "Someday this is going to be the law in the state. I would like to put it into law with good boundaries. And this bill does that," he says. The Senate will vote on Olson's motion to hear SB 135 once the body convenes on April 26th. And Olson previously backed medical marijuana legalization and said last October that Senate President T.Y. Masterson, Republican, removed him as a chair of the Senate committee after he had the hearings on the issue. The senator said at the time that he believed it was a retaliatory move. If approved, the measure in its current form would legalize and regulate medical marijuana in Kansas, with products taxed at 10%, and the industry would be overseen by regulators at the State Department of Revenue Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control, which would be renamed the Division of Alcohol and Cannabis Control. Patients and caregivers would need to register through the state's Department of Health and Environment, with patients paying a $50 registration fee and caregivers charged $25. I think that should be reversed, but nonetheless. All fees or fines collected as part of the program would be routed to a new medical cannabis registration fund to cover costs related to administration and enforcement, and physicians would need to obtain a state certificate in order to recommend medical marijuana. The state's Board of Pharmacy, meanwhile, would establish guidelines for dispensary reports and tracking, and a pharmacist seeking to work as consultants for a dispensary would need to pay a $100 registration fee. Financial institutions working with estate legal businesses would be shielded from criminal liability under Kansas law, and the bill would allow state licensed marijuana companies to do business with Native American tribal marijuana entities as well. After the Senate committee shelved Bill SB 135 last year, Governor Laura Kelly, Democrat, issued a statement urging the public to contact their representatives to demand that they take legislation back up for action. Kelly, who has long championed cannabis reform, said that at the time she was disappointed that some legislators are saying they don't want to move forward with legalizing medical marijuana this year, effectively turning their backs on our veterans and those with chronic pain and seizure disorders. Olson's motion this month to revisit SB 135 came about a week after Kansas lawmakers shelved another medical marijuana bill, SB 555, which would have created a limited pilot program in the state. That measure envisioned a maximum of 4 vertically integrated medical marijuana companies statewide, and it also would have allowed pharmacies to dispense medical marijuana. There would be a requirement that a director, manager, or an officer of a medical cannabis company have held a hemp producer license for at least 2 years prior to entering the marijuana industry, and to participate in the program, patients with one of 16 qualifying conditions, including cancer, PTSD, and chronic pain, would need to obtain a certification from physicians. Smoking cannabis would be banned, nor would patients or caregivers be allowed to grow marijuana at home. And at the time, Kansas Bureau of Investigation, KBI, Director Tony Malvidi said his agency is strongly opposed to the proposal. He says, "I'm very concerned by some of the trends and the data that we've seen as we look around the country at other states that have legalized," he said, arguing counter to most evidence that the state level reform is associated with increased rates of opioid overdoses, he says. And this article keeps on going on and on and on, but we are not going to keep on going on and on. We are going to discuss this, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. I think this is a good thing for Kansas.
I agree.
Yeah.
What else is going on in Kansas?
Oh, man.
I try to keep it balanced as possible. I'm just waiting for, Republicans that are in power to come up with some original ideas rather than just piggybacking on others after you see somebody else making money off of it. Have some courage.
Well, they're bringing up an old bill that they had already introduced that got side banned.
What was his argument? There's states around us that are making money on it. It's time that we evolve on this issue.
Well, it's true.
Why don't they as a leader and an elected leader, you take calculated risks.
So you're saying people can't state the obvious?
Ideas. I just don't see any original ideas. I just see this as reactionary, and it's just bad signs of leadership. You don't think that this is just them evolving and like coming around? It's like they're not going to win on this one. They might as well just cave in, and they might as well have some type of program that benefits the people, the Kansas citizens. That's exactly what I'm. That's exactly what I'm saying. The money. I'm saying why not? Sure. Why not have something beneficial for your constituents ahead of being reactionary on it? Like the people of Kansas are going to be able to get weed regardless, whether it's on the streets or elsewhere. And other states had already been on this legalization shit. Like, why is it take like all of this rigmarole for them to finally come around and evolve on it? That's because my question. They were paying attention to the money. Be a leader and lead with some ideas that'll help your people out.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's ivory tower, but they're paying attention to the money, not the morals. But at least they're paying attention to the money and realizing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was very telling about the quote in the article was that one of the policymakers recognized that it's a foregone conclusion that eventually they're going to get there. Mm-hmm. So they might as well get there. And I just wish that other places could also see it like that, like Wisconsin and some of these other places. Eventually you're going to get there, so get there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that they're finally coming around and everything.
Economically and medically, they're going to suffer in the meantime, all because you couldn't get off your high horse.
Oh, cute.
Not so high horse. I see. Or D9 horse.
I see. Get off your low pony.
Oh boy.
Oh, that white horse, that white pony. Mm-hmm. Do you want to ride?
Well, congratulations, Kansasans.
Oh. Yeah. Even if it's for the wrong reason, it's a good move.
Yeah, like hey, it's a movement. You know what I mean? It's a movement in the right direction. So hopefully this vote is successful. We'll stay tuned and we'll keep you posted.
I just wonder
that are willing to go with the people's will and not just when it benefits them in the pocketbooks.
Like Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia.
Well, you have to vote for a different party, Rico.
Or
I mean, I wouldn't say a different party. I would say you need different politicians that are going to.
Well, yeah, definitely not DeSantis. The thing that definitely came up. We could go through the entire list, but let's not, because Jason doesn't have that kind of time today. But the thing that I thought was a challenge was some of the requirements that they're talking about for physicians registering with the Board of Pharmacy. My hope would be that process is not too time consuming or expensive for doctors, so that they can be a part of the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. We're gonna roll right into the final story for today, you guys. You guys ready? You're gonna be sad, Rico. You are gonna be sad.
Let's do it, man. I got my tissues ready.
All right. No weed, you guys, just beer. Bavaria bans smoking cannabis at Oktoberfest and beer gardens, you guys. You can get drunk at Bavaria's world-famous Oktoberfest, but don't get high. The southern German state will ban smoking cannabis at public festivals, inside beer gardens, and even at the Oktoberfest, the world's most popular beer festival, the state's government announced on Tuesday. Local authorities in Bavaria will also be allowed to prohibit cannabis Bavaria will also be allowed to prohibit cannabis consumption in public areas such as outdoor swimming pools and leisure parks such as Munich's Englischer Garden. Germany news agency DPA reported, in quotes, "Our aim is to limit cannabis consumption in public spaces," said Bavarian Health Minister Judith Gerlach. That is important for health protection and especially for protecting children and young people, she says. Bavaria move comes after Germany legalized possession of small amounts of cannabis for adult use and all over the country at the beginning of this month. Bavaria's conservative-led state government has been particularly vocal in its opposition to the partial legalization of cannabis, and Germany's nationwide new rules went into force on April 1st, legalizing possession by adults of up to 25 grams, nearly 1 ounce of marijuana for adult use purposes, and allowing individuals to grow up to 3 plants for their personal use. A second part of the legislation, under which German residents age 18 and older will be allowed to join nonprofit cannabis growing clubs from which they can buy marijuana, takes effect on July 1st. And in its strict interpretation of cannabis law, Bavaria's state government also wants to ban smoking cannabis in designated smoking rooms and smoking areas such as outdoor areas in restaurants and cafes. The ban will also extend to heating and vaporizing of cannabis and cannabis products, DPA reported, and Bavaria's state government argues that the ban on weed consumption at public festivals, including the Oktoberfest, is needed because consumers are not allowed to smoke cannabis near minors, and children and young people are regularly present there. Well, I find that a little hypocritical, seeing as how you guys are all just getting hammered, wasted, drunk, and like that's not good for watching or keeping care of kids or whatnot. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys got to say.
No crossfading. What's up with that?
Real quick on this one. Bavaria, there was it the Christian whatever party, the Christian Liberal Party, whatever.
Say what up.
That's their version of Republicans.
Beard brothers in the house.
That's their version of Republicans. And as soon as legalization got passed, they said that from the beginning that they were not going to have it in there. Like, not on my watch. And they said that the Oktoberfest is going to be about beer, not about cannabis. And you need to be, you can't have that mess around the children. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Jason, very, very ironic. You have a beer fest when people are walking around, stumbling around, wasted out of their minds.
Yeah, it's crazy
to
me.
Do that in front of kids.
Well, I mean, let's be real honest here. Germany hasn't produced a good plume of smoke since they incinerated most of the Jews in the crematoriums. Wow. So I'm keeping it spicy today, and Mike isn't the only person on my hit list. And so they need to understand.
Hey, man, that you let everybody know that you are Jewish, please. So nobody in the audience.
I need to let anybody know that I'm Jewish. If they want to be offended by my statements, let them be offended. I'm here to ruffle feathers and stimulate minds. And I think that when they start to allow for the use of cannabis, if they are going to criminalize even at a civil level with monetary infractions the use of cannabis in places that are public. Look, I'm all for leaving the secondhand smoke away from children, right? Let's not hotbox the kindergarten room. But this notion that everybody can stumble around the streets and celebrate their fermentation processes while not enjoying a little bit of cannabis, it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And I think that sometimes places put forward programs to say that they've put forward a program while still having the eye of the needle for compliance and cooperation be so small that it really is, it's nonsensical. And this is nonsensical. The idea that somebody couldn't gently pull off a vape product in certain areas, it doesn't make any sense.
Hey, I'm on it. I do a new show every Tuesday. Guys, say hi. We got some operators in the house.
Saman, you got who you got? Who you got, Saman? Who you got? Come on, you got to hold your phone up,
man.
Yeah. Don't worry. This isn't happening again. I'm sorry, guys. We wanted to try something new and see if it would work, but obviously this doesn't work. So.
Yeah, man. I think it's not anything new with the party that's running Bavaria. It is a big. It's a shitty situation because that was gearing up to be the world's greatest crossfade festival on earth ever of all time. Mm-hmm. And I was looking forward to that, but maybe next year.
What about cannabis infused beer?
Out of office, get the conservatives out of office, and you can have some fun shit. You know, Jason, right?
I just have to
cannabis infused beer allowed?
No. Cannabis.
No, they don't want any kind of cannabis.
No
there.
Type of cannabis.
Big beer is in the pockets of their chancellor.
Exactly. I just gotta say, on that note, I think Germany just needs a little bit more weed for the people.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do, man.
Yes.
You got beer for the people, but they need weed for the people.
They need Bavarian bomb. I mean, they definitely. Look, and the German market for cannabis is actually kind of exciting from an entrepreneurial and sort of like expansive global market perspective. And then you hear you see these articles, you read this stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. How are people supposed to enjoy cannabis if they can't enjoy cannabis?
Yeah, fair enough. All true, bro. You got to be able to enjoy it.
Free the weed.
Yeah.
Free the weed.
They should have had the first crossfade out there. That would have been Oktoberfest. That would have been so lit.
Beer and weed. The combination made my eyes bleed.
Buds and suds. I mean, I'm all for it.
Oh boy. Let's go, Rico. Let's wrap this up. This up.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective, your respected opinions to the table. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on and the AV struggles to a minimum. And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High at 9 News team reads these headlines daily. Thank you, too. It's been Tuesday, April 16, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And should I give it to Saman?
No.
Oh, you should.
No.
Yes, you should.
Oh, boy. Saman, are you with us?
Let's give it to the man on the street.
Saman, are you with us?
I am here. The man on the street is here. Listen, I just want to say this is the intersection of the culture and the dollar. And let me tell you what, High at 9 News is always in the middle, bringing you the real. So tune in every day, 9 a.m. on the Pacific, High at 9 on the East Coast. Check us out. Keep it real. So stay safe and puff tough.